Okay, great. Hello again, everybody. So this is, I guess, the official start. We're live on Facebook as well. We have Yusuf and Adeline from our team, and Nemo, and of course the one and only Maryam, one of the amazing people we got to meet when we started this journey, and we thought it would be just appropriate to share her story with you guys. I think she would inspire you. She probably has answers to a lot of your questions. Um, and of course, she's an awesome person, so you should meet her. And as has happened already, once you get to Canada, you will all become friends. I think activity there is already in motion. I've seen a few dinners and stuff happening there. So how's that going, Maryam? Have you had any events with anyone else on the community?
Yeah, so just last week, Yusuf invited all of us out on Sunday for lunch, and we had a really great time. It was so cool meeting everyone that's been opportunity to move to Canada through Global Skills. And a couple of weeks ago as well, I met with Shirey and a couple of other girls that moved to Canada around the same time that I did. We had an early brunch, and Shirey was going back to school, and she thought it would be a great time to meet everyone and have a quick chat just to get to know one another, and it was really cool and fun.
Sounds
Anything
good.
tactics.
Sounds Yusuf. Was it fun for you too as well?
Well, any excuse I can get to get some kebabs going is always good. So I was just impressed at the level of spiciness that Maryam and Rukayat were able to try.
Okay. That's an area that you're always interested in.
Oh.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much. And we already have a lot of people on the webinar, but probably a lot more live on Facebook. So I thought it would be good to just start off with some questions in general about your experience, Maryam. So tell us, how did you come across Global Skills Hub? Like, why and what made you decide to apply? What was the story there?
Well, it's actually a very funny story because it started like middle of this year, around June. A friend and I, her name is Rukayat, we were just talking about how we wanted a change, how we were tired of the environment we were working in, that was in Nigeria, Lagos to be precise, and we were talking about how it would be good to move to a new country to just have a different experience and start all over from anybody. And so a day after we were discussing that, I opened my email account and I got an email from Adeline saying that there's a company that's interested in helping software developers move to Canada if they were interested. And so I told my uncle about it, and he was like, "Oh, that's a scam. It's not possible for a company to help you move to Canada and help you find a job. And so that I shouldn't bother trying it out." And I told Rukoya about it as well, and she said, "It's probably a scam and you shouldn't waste your time." And then I told myself that even if it's a scam, it doesn't hurt to try it out. So I replied her, and I got connected to Louisa, and that was how I got introduced to Global Skills. And all through to the point where I was doing interviews with companies, my uncle still kept telling me that it was probably a scam. It was when I got my offer letter waived, and I showed him the offer letter and was like, "Oh, it looks like it might be real." And so I told Rukayat I got a job. I was like, "Can you recommend me as well? I think I want to try Global Skills." And that was how both of us got into Global Skills and got a job. And surprisingly enough, we're here. I've been here for over a month, and Rukayat joined me about 2 weeks ago as well.
Wow, amazing. First of all, it's so great to have a friend with you on the journey, isn't it? Like someone who kind of follows your steps. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to do with the community, right? So have everybody get to know each other. These webinars, these events that we're trying to do is to build that community and make sure everybody has a friend at least throughout their journey. Immigration is a difficult journey, as everyone knows. So it helps to have somebody. So I'm so happy that you had Rukayat, and I hope you consider us your friend as well throughout the journey you had. Yeah. So Yusuf, what do you think about what do you think about these scams that are happening around the world about bringing people together? What is this?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the, obviously it was something that we knew in the beginning, that unfortunately, there's just a ton of immigration scams that have run for years, and recruitment scams. And some of our community members have actually sat and explained how these scams work. And as ingenious as they are, it's sad, that they exist. But, Maryam is not the first person that's told us that. Many of the people that, once they get down into the, they realize, because, we don't charge, we don't charge candidates. It was like a hidden rule that we kind of set in the beginning, that, we want to ensure that, that it was completely at our expense to help them. And then obviously the clients and the companies, we could, we'd be able to charge them and create that. So yeah, we continue to hear that, and we just need to help spreading the word that these people are real. Maryam exists, that she actually is in Toronto, and these are world-class companies that we work with. So whether it's Wave or Influitive or TWG and Staffel and so on, there's incredible companies that you're privileged to work with. So definitely not a scam for sure.
Well, that's great to hear. So at least we're not we know we're not working on a scam. So that's great. So Maryam, one of the questions that has come up a lot, I think probably everybody asks this, and kind of wants to know what does it look like to go through this. So what was your application process like? What was the interview process like? Can you explain a little bit about how that went on?
Sure. So, like I said earlier, I like to think that I didn't find Global Skills. Global Skills found me, because I was just thinking about moving to another country, and I got the email from Adeline, which was, I think it was like a coincidence, because it was just a day apart. And I replied to the email and got connected to Louisa. So through Louisa, we refined my CV, because I had a really crappy CV back then. I didn't think it was important. Still, I decided to move to another country and get a new job. And so after I refined my CV, I was connected to Sam as well, who also works for Global Skills, and he helped me to shorten my CV and basically helped to update my profile, so I had a better way of introducing myself to the companies that I was going to be interviewing with. And that was around June, I think. So after that, my profile was shared with different companies across Toronto, and I interviewed with a couple of companies actually. I know I interviewed with TWG, I interviewed with Sensible, and then I interviewed with Wave. And my first two interviews, I was told that they were looking for someone with more experience than I had, and I might have been a little bit discouraged, but then I got an interview with Wave, and everyone was super nice. And it was first time I was doing an interview with 6 different people for 3 hours, but it was long, but it went really good. Everyone was super nice, and at first it didn't feel like an interview. It felt like I was talking to a couple of friends, only that they were asking me questions and I was replying, which I thought was really good. And it's something I noticed across all the companies I interviewed with. So if there's one thing I've learned about Canadians, it's that they're super nice. Even when you're interviewing, they try to make you feel like a part of, not all formal, and you feel like, especially because I was doing the interview remote, and I was joining a call. I thought it was going to be really weird and a bit difficult. So I was a bit skeptical when I started my interview. But luckily for me, how nice Canadians are, the interview processes was like really smooth. And considering that sometimes I had really crappy network when I was in Nigeria, they didn't get angry when my calls dropped off because my internet wasn't so good. They were very understanding. And so when everyone on this call do start their interview, I don't feel you should like be afraid when you have to join a call to do interviews. Everyone is super nice and they'll always make you feel welcome. So I think the only thing you have to do is really prepare for your interview, know your stuff, and when you just finally start interviewing, it's going to go as smoothly as possible.
Wow. Well, that sounds like the experience of, I think, a lot of people in our community. Would you not agree, Yusuf?
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking about a really interesting story. So when Maryam had her final interview at Wave, she also was pretty far into the process with the other company. And what had happened is, just like she said, it just wasn't a fit. It wasn't that Maryam wasn't, a great engineer or anything. It just wasn't a fit for what they were looking for at the time. And so they have this automated system. So in their ATS, they had hit, okay, she's been rejected. She was going to get this automated template. And I got that message first. And I remember running and emailing the other company and saying, hey, could you hold off on sending this to her by a day because she's got this interview. I don't want her to be discouraged, and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, it actually had already been sent off. So the interesting part, and just kind of shows the caliber of the people at TWG and Erica McDonald specifically there, is she actually emailed Maryam back to give her encouragement on the other interview from a completely competing company. So yeah, we talk about Canadians and HR and some of the people that, I think more so just the people that we've been, privileged to work with. That's the type of people they are that, she got rejected, but she ran away. She's like, oh, no, great job. Make sure you do, kill it, and good luck on the next interview.
Amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of our candidates are worried about the interview process. I think they're fearful of it, and it's understandable. You're applying to jobs in a completely different country that you might have never visited. You might not understand their culture completely. You might not know anything about the company. You've never seen their building, or maybe never even used their product. So it's obvious that it's going to feel intimidating. But the thing is, this is one of those things that you just have to kind of step into it. You got to try it. You got to go ahead. You got to apply to a few companies, and put yourself out there, right? You'll learn from a few of those experiences, and eventually you'll find the right fit. And I always say this to everybody, that you have to focus on what's also fit for you. So you have to look at it from your perspective, not just from the companies, not just what they're looking for, but also what are you looking for, and is that a fit to your goals and your vision for your future and your career. And I think Maryam has done that, and that's why she's happy with her decision, as I can see. So thank you so much. Anything else about the interview process that was maybe, I don't know, that was noticeable for you, or you felt like you would do differently if you were to do it again?
Well, I think the only thing I noticed was different was with one of the companies I did interview with. I can't remember the name right now, but the only thing I noticed was that I did the first stage of the interview with them, and I was told that they were going to get back to me, but I haven't gotten anything up until today. So if there's one thing I would appreciate companies to do, is if a candidate interviews with them and they say they were going to get back to them, even if you're not interested in going further with the interview, I think it's just polite to reach out to the candidates and let them know that, hey, we're sorry, but we can't continue interviewing we can't continue with the interview process. I feel like that way the candidate knows not to expect anything and to move forward as compared to if they keep waiting for the company to get back to them. But for people on the call, don't let that discourage you. It was just one company out of 4 companies that did that to me, so I don't think it's a common practice here. Everyone is like really polite and nice, and if they decide not to go along with the interview, they let you know the reason why, so that you don't think you're behind or it's because of something you did. Sometimes it's just that it's not a good fit at the time. And one thing I'm very sure of is as long as you know your craft, you will always get it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing that. I think that's it's always good to also talk about some of the maybe not so pleasant experiences that happen, just so everybody knows the realities of going through this process. There will be companies that might not respond to you, companies that will reject you, or opportunities where it's just a mismatch. And don't be discouraged of that, and just focus on your goal. You'll definitely be there. Okay, so enough talking about interviews. Let's talk about a little bit about your move to Canada. So first of all, what was the transition like between moving from Nigeria to Canada? How did that feel? What was the difference?
Well, the first thing is the cold. So for someone that stays in Lagos, that's like the south, and an overpopulated state at that, it's always hot in Lagos. And so the first thing, well, Yusuf and Ivana and everybody was already telling me that I should prepare myself for the cold. And well, so the thing is, as much as you like to say you're prepared for the cold, you can't really prepare until you're inside the cold. So the first thing that I think everyone that's moving here should get prepared for is to feel cold, very cold. So, but aside from that, my move from Nigeria to Canada was pretty smooth, if I can say so myself, because when I moved here, luckily for me, my sister and her family moved here a month before, so I didn't have to worry about accommodation. But at the same time, for people that will be moving here, don't let that deter you, because we have an awesome team at Global Skills that will help you with your accommodation when you are moving. Don't think because I have a sister, you have to worry about accommodation. No, you don't. But for me, I had a sister that was already here, so I didn't have to worry about where I was going to stay. And another awesome thing Global Skills does is to come and pick you up at the airport, which I think is really thoughtful and nice of them. So when you get here, you don't have to worry about how you're going to get to where you're going to, because someone from Global Skills will always be there to pick you up and welcome you. So Yusuf, for my case, Yusuf and Cheryl were there to welcome me at the airport. So they drove me to my sister's place, and I'd say I was a bit lucky when I got here because it wasn't that cold yet. I mean, I had a week of sunshine, so I think I'm very lucky. My friend Rukaya that came here 2 weeks ago, she got here, and the day she got here, it was snowing. So I think she's as lucky as I was. But aside from that, I think maybe because I've not experienced the worst yet, but for now, I've learned how to wear 4 clothes at once if I'm going out. So I'm always like wearing two trousers, 3 tops, and my jacket. So I think I'm good for now. But aside from the cold, everyone here is like super nice. If you get lost, which you will when you get here, I've entered 2 wrong buses before. You will always find your way because there's like maps that will guide you, and later on you will know when to enter the train going west from when to enter the train going east. I still confuse myself once in a while, but you'll get used to it. And the transportation system, I mean, once you get used to the subway, the buses are pretty easy as well. And there are applications that can help you with which bus number to enter. So there's like transportation is covered and it's pretty cheap. I mean, I spend $6 on transportation every day, which I think is quite affordable for days when I go to work. So the beauty of our job, again, being software developers, is that you can always choose to work from home, which is good, especially when it's like really snowing outside and you don't just want to go inside that coat. So you can choose to work from home. But aside from that, transportation is really easy, and the food, well, take it from someone that likes eating a lot. Different places where you can get different food. If you don't like to cook, there's always restaurants where you can buy food at affordable prices. And so I don't think you should worry about the food too much. Although, if you're coming from Nigeria, I'd advise that you bring some foodstuffs when you're coming here. Because if there's, I came here with quite a lot of food stuff, but then, so I feel if you're moving here, you can bring some food stuff. You can bring beans for Nigerians that love their beans. And you don't have to bring things like rice. I think you can get here. But if you feel like there's some things you can't do without, then I feel you should bring some of them with you when you're moving, because some things you might not find here, but most things I think you'll find here because they're like African stores. And when you get here and you need information about which store to go to, please reach out to me. I've like scouted for like 3 African stores already, and I know where to buy almost everything you need. So I don't think you need to really worry about that, especially when it comes to food. Trust me, I've got you covered when it comes to food. And I think that's like everything. Global Skills will help you with accommodation. Not that they'll pay for your accommodation. No, you have to pay for your accommodation yourself, but they'll help you. They'll make it easy for you to find places to stay. And if you need food, contact me. I'll help you with the food. And transportation, there are applications that will help you with transportation, so you don't have to worry about transportation too much, except for days when you enter the wrong buses. But aside from that, you also need to, like, when you get here, you need to get a really thick jacket for days when it will be really cold, and winter boots. But aside from that, I think that covers moving to Canada.
Nice, nice. It's good to know that we have another foodie in our community, which always makes me happy. Yusuf, tell us about your view on this.
So it's not cold all the time. Just like, it just happens to be the time of the year we're in. It gets really, really hot in the summers here, and the summers here are amazing. Toronto has a lot of outdoor activities. So just as I mean, where I was born in Western Canada in Edmonton, and you know, we'd get like -25, -30, and a lot of snow. So compared to Toronto, I think Toronto's a much warmer place. So just but yeah, obviously it is something that if you've never experienced the cold before, it starts to seep into you. And this year it seems like we seem to have missed an autumn, so it just kind of jumps straight into winter. But yeah, and I mean the food and getting all that stuff out. The 41% of this city in Toronto is immigrants, and 50% of this city was actually not born in the city. And so what it has lent itself to is an incredible, smorgasbord. You're walking down the street and you'll see restaurants from every different ethnicity and country, and whatever you're feeling, and there's someone down the road who's also fused together 2 or 3 different, and there's just some amazing things that have come out too. And my sister is a big foodie as well. I think Maryam may have met my sister at one point, and every week she's always taking me somewhere. I think now it's become very popular in the last 6 months, is like sushi burritos. And so now you have these complete fusions that are coming. So you'll never be short of food in Toronto for sure.
Sounds good, sounds good. So Maryam, but what surprised you about Canada? So you told us about your experience, but what was surprising? What did you not expect?
One thing I didn't expect was going to work every day and dropping my laptop at work and then going home to sleep. So like coming from Nigeria or coming from my previous job, it was you have to finish your tickets on time, irrespective of whether you have to overwork or not sleep. But then I got here and I started at I started at Wave, that's the company I work for. And the first 2 weeks at least, I was taking my laptop home and I noticed my teammates giving me like this weird side eye, wondering who this girl is. And I was wondering what was going on. And then I asked one of my teammates the following day why they always leave their laptops at home. And she said, because you're supposed to have a work-life balance. I don't know if you know what that means. And she like went ahead to start explaining what work-life balance meant to me. And I was like, I do know what it means. I just didn't know it applies to software developers. And she was like, why shouldn't it apply to software developers? And I went on to tell her my experience about how even if your contract says you work from 9 to 5, if you have a project that you have to finish, that means your work is not 9 to 5, it's 9 till the time you finish your work. So she then went on to tell me that even though like projects are important, at the same time, they want developers to also have a life, because it's easy for you to overwork yourself. But when you do that, it's also very easy for you to get burnt out. And you're not used to anybody if you're burnt out. So that's one thing. And I haven't taken my laptop home in 2 weeks. I'm still getting used to it, but it's a very awesome feeling. I'm sure a lot of software developers know what I'm talking about. So if there's one thing that really stood out for me, it's that like having a work-life balance. So when I don't have a resumption time at work, so there's like so much trust between my company and between my company's employers and its employees, that they believe that you should feel responsible enough to start work when you feel like it and dedicate as much hours as necessary for that day. So I don't have a strict resumption time and I don't have a strict closing time, but I try to work between 9 to 5, because by 6 p.m., if you're at my office at 6 p.m., you're probably the only one left at the office. So you kind of have to try to work when everybody's working. And if you don't feel like it, you can always work when you feel like it, as long as you put in the reasonable amount of work hours for the day. So yeah, so 9 to 5 I'm working, and then after 5 o'clock, laptop is in my drawer, and I'm going to do anything I want. And right now, what I usually do after 5 is go to the gym and then go back home, which is something I never had time for when I was in Nigeria, because it was always work, and then midnight comes and I'm still working. So I think that's one thing that's really cool, the fact that work-life balance is not only talked about, but it's practiced.
Wow, okay. Seems like a big difference, and I think, I mean, it's valuable for everyone. So I'm happy that you're experiencing that. But tell us a little bit about your experience in work. Like, what does your day-to-day work experience look like? What does a day in your work day look like? And walk us through that a little bit.
So for someone that's not really a morning person, I wake up around 7:30 in the morning, which is pretty late if you are living in Nigeria or if you're living in Lagos, because you have to like get up around 6 to go to work to be able to beat traffic. But here, I wake up 7:30 and I leave my home for work by 9 p.m. Meaning I have like time in the morning for myself to play with my niece, because I stay with my sister and her 3-year-old daughter. So I have time to play with her before I come to work. And it usually takes me about 40 minutes to get to work. So when I get here, it's usually pretty smooth because everyone is like really nice here. I'm still a bit skeptical about exactly how nice people can be at my office, but everyone is like super nice. So once I get here, we have our daily stand-ups, and then I start my job. And then by 12, my team and I are like really close. So we all go for lunch together. and then we come back and continue working through till 5. Sometimes we work past 5 because if we have like a strict deadline and we need to finish something before the end of the sprint, but we don't work beyond 5:30. So maximum 6, but it's rare before you find anyone at the office by 6. So it's like they really try to make it a culture here for people to have a work-life balance. So when the day is closed, they expect you to go and do something for yourself, have time for yourself. And what I do is I go to the gym after work to stay fit, because if there's one thing that's the code can cause is to make you feel a bit depressed. But I feel if you're active enough and if you're agile, you shouldn't feel the cold too much, because if I come out from the gym, I always feel like, oh, the weather is also cold today, even though it's -2 degrees. Yeah, so I try to make sure I'm active, because, and again, being software developers, we're sitting down for most part of the day, and so you need to be healthy. So I do that by going to the gym. But really, work is like really cool, because you know what for my company, you know what you're supposed to work on. And even though I just joined a new team, like you mentioned earlier, I just joined a new team, and we have a project that we want to bring out before the end of the year. So we're working against a very tight deadline, but it's been really great. We're working at a very fast pace, but it's fun, and I'm enjoying it so far.
Sounds great. Sounds great. And okay, but tell us a little bit about your hardest time in the transition. And do you have any stories or anything that was really difficult for you? And tell us what happened at the end.
Oh, definitely. I'm a JavaScript developer, and now I'm working with Python. That's like jumping from here to here. It's like a really big transition. So that was one of the things I was really worried about when I was starting here, because I've been working with JavaScript for over 3 years, and Wave uses Python and React for Python for the back end and React for the front end. And I was really worried because to make a difference. Basically, I wanted to prove to them that I knew what I was doing, but then I was worried about how I was going to do that if what I was doing is not exactly what they are doing. And so on my first day here, my manager actually called me and told me, hey, when I joined this company as well, I didn't know React, I didn't know Python. I learned everything on this job. So don't feel pressured to jump into everything and start making a difference. We're going to give you a time to learn and actually get used to things. And although that made me feel better, doesn't mean that I didn't still try to overdo stuff. And so after like 2 weeks, they had to call me back and let me know that, hey, you're completing your tasks too fast. You need to slow down and take your time to pace yourselves. You don't have to prove anything to us. We know you are good. That's why we hired you. So stuff like that. Words of encouragement was always there. And I'm still learning Python, and I was moved to another team that uses Python, React, and now we're using GraphQL, which is something I haven't worked with at all. So now I'm working on a project with a very strict deadline with one new language and 2 frameworks that I have not used before. So it's different, but it's a good different, because I'm able to challenge myself more than beyond what I've been used to, and I'm really loving it thus far.
Wow. And actually, kudos to your company, because everyone also is also commenting on the chat that this is a great company culture, and I'm happy that you're part of a team that is so mature in how they handle their members. And that's actually one of the things, Yusuf, that I think we always have this discussion, right? What kind of clients, what kind of companies do we like to work for? and it's important for us to make sure that we find the right home for you guys. Yusuf, you wanted to mention something there.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, I think that, and this is kind of a testament to this as well, is that companies today, a lot of the companies that we're choosing to work with, I would say the largest portion of them, the technical portion is just as important, if not actually the cultural is more important than the technical piece. And so it's your attitude, and obviously you can tell Maryam has an incredible attitude, right? But it was those things that kept coming up about her when she was in the interview process. It's like, so her attitude, her curiosity, her empathy, dealing with, sometimes you're dealing directly with clients, or your dev team is your client itself. And so I think it's important, I think as we've been going through interview prep and dealing with these amazing candidates across the world or community members across the world, I think sometimes we shy away from, showing our real self, and we're more focused on, let me show you how technically strong I am. Well, that part's important, but it's just as important to be there to sit down. We all know that the languages and frameworks that exist today, 1 or 2 years ago didn't exist, or someone's always coming out with a better way or a faster way to do it. And so really, if you're focused on always learning, always being curious, and you display that type of attitude, that's the type of people that startups are looking for and scale-ups are looking for right now. We have a few companies where it's all about tech, but really the companies that we have the most fun working with and ensuring, are companies like Wave and so on that, and that's why Maryam did such an incredible job there.
Amazing. Okay, so I have 2 final questions for you, Maryam, before we move on to the community questions. First of all, what are you looking forward to?
It's snowed already, so I'm not really sure what else to look forward to. And I was told that the temperature drops to as much as minus 36 degrees. I don't think I'm looking forward to that. But with work, I think I'm really looking forward to launching the new products that we're working on, because I think it's really great and it's going to really make a difference, not only in Canada, but across the world. And I'm really excited for everyone to see and use it. But aside from that, I think I'm looking forward to some sun. It's been a while before the sun came out today. So I'm thinking maybe next year, March,
it's out right now,
we'll probably see some sun. So.
It's
not.
You don't see the sun beside me?
And there's a difference. There's the sun and there's the sun. There's the sun and it's really cold, and there's sun and it's warm. That's the kind of sun I want. Not the cold sun.
Cold sun. Okay. Fair enough. Yusuf, you wanted to say something.
There was a question there about the activities, just having kids, I think. Do you want me to address that now or later?
We just have one last question for Maryam, and then we'll go into the community questions.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so final question, Maryam. What advice do you have for other candidates? How would you sum it up?
Well, I think the first advice I have is, if you start doing your interviews and you get rejected, don't feel discouraged. It doesn't mean you're not good. It could mean that they want someone with more experience, like in my case, or it's just not a good fit. So I know it's very easy for your morale to drop if you start interviewing and the first company comes and goes, and the second company comes and goes, and the third one comes and goes. But you should always know that as long as you really know as long as you really know what you're doing and what you want to do, you should always keep trying. And one thing that Global Skills will do is I don't think they will let you give up, because they'll keep shooting companies your way, and you'll keep seeing that these companies are really great companies. And also, when you do start your interview process, I think most companies are pretty impressed by the first stage of the interview, which is another awesome part where global skills comes in, because they will help you prepare for your interview before you start the interview. They'll help you prepare for it, which I think is really cool. But aside from that, I think you can always take a step back to also do your research about the company. So if you're going to be interviewing with a company, Global Skills will share the company's information with you. So you can always go online with check for the company's name and check for the history of the company, basically know what the company does, how they function, so such that when you do start your interview, you know what you are going into. And another a site that really helped me with that is Glassdoor. So a lot of people go on Glassdoor to write reviews about companies, how the interview process is, so you have an idea of what you're going to go into interviewing with that company. So I think you should check Glassdoor out. It really helped me when I started my interviews. Plus, you have Google. You can always check for the company's history and always learn more company. And another thing I used when I started my interview was a book called Cracking the Coding Interview. So it's a really good book. It's like this big, really big, but it includes a lot of things, how to answer behavioral questions, how to answer technical questions, and I feel it really helped me. If you can get the book as well. The only thing is that it's written in Java, but I don't think that should be a problem if when you start using it. But yeah, it really helped me a lot. And when you do get here, try to make as many friends as possible. I'm here, so you can always reach out to me, especially if you want food. I'm always interested in going to find places that involves good food. So, but I don't think you have a problem making friends because everyone is like super nice here. So I don't think you have a problem with that.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. All of these great pearls of wisdom, I would call. We've taken up a lot of your time. I don't want to keep you here much longer. So what we're going to do is there's a few questions here that we're going to try and respond as quickly as possible. So some of them Yusuf will respond, some of them will be addressed to you. And there's also a few questions that some people submitted prior to the event, which I will go through if we have time. So let's start for the first one. Yusuf, you wanted to say something about the question regarding activities for kids during winter, which was an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, so you know that question is near to my heart because I have 3 kids. So I have twins that are 5 years old. I'm 11 months, and you know, so they're obviously keeping those things at the forefront are important. There's tons of activities, and there's a lot of free activities that are always running around as well. So you know, there's things like skating. There's sleighing. There's people. You know, people don't just stay inside when it snows and stuff like that, and you know, with proper clothing and stuff like that, you know, you can get out there and really enjoy yourself. And so, you know, us growing up, we were out in the snow all the time when it was snowing, and you know, whether it was hockey or skating or you know, and so on and so forth. There's a ton of different things that you can do. There's also, you know, Cheryl's our relocation specialist here at Global Skills Hub, and she's going to be someone that you will be in touch with once you're ready to come. And you know, she's making a list of a bunch of different free activities that you can do. But we were talking about even yesterday, just going down and with the holiday season coming up and with Christmas setting up, there's these incredible, it's called like these windows have been set up at Eaton Center where you know, each window is like a different theme and they're just amazing to go see. So there's always tons and tons of stuff to do getting out there and you just got to, like I said, be properly covered up. And then vice versa in the summer, there's a lot of stuff going on as well. There's also a couple of different, there's a startup, and we'll get the name of them for you, where you can actually choose, you input the age of your kids and the day of the week. And what it'll do is it'll actually tell you in real time what's happening around you that you can take your kids to. So yeah, definitely, definitely an opportunity to get there. I think that the other part of that question was just work-life balance between the US and Canada. we're seeing a bit of different here. Just really focus on culture, and so I think that work-life balance and getting that culture. Not to say that there aren't companies where we have companies that we work with that are they say, hey, this is going to be like a startup. You're going to be we expect you to be staying over and so on and so forth. So I think that just keeping that in mind. However, the type of company that you're looking for is kind of the type of company that we're also going to be able to put you in front of as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we're getting a lot of interesting questions. We're short on time, so we're just going to have to go through them quickly. Really interesting question from Cynthia. I'd like to know how long it took for Maryam's last interview with Wave to receiving the job offer, to receiving the job offer, sorry. And after the job offer, how long did it take for her to arrive in Canada? So Maryam, how long did that process take?
Well, I think one thing that stood out for me with Wave was how empathetic they were, because I did my interview on my final interview. I did it on a Friday, and let's just say my weekend wasn't spent sleeping. I was just worrying about when I was going to get results from them, and on Monday morning, the first thing I saw when I woke up was a message from the HR personnel I'd been talking to about how if I was able to jump on a call with her, she would like to talk to me. And when I joined the call, she basically just scheduled the call to let me know that my interview on Friday went really well. And although they're still deciding, she just wanted me to know that I shouldn't worry too much, and basically to give me a status report. And on Tuesday, she called me back and told me that they were ready to make an offer. Although I didn't sign the offer immediately because another opportunity came with another company, and that was a different, confusing time. But it took about a week for me to get an offer from them after my final interview, which I think was really fast. And after that, it took about a month for me to process my visa here. So it was kind of faster than I expected, because I thought it was going to take more time, especially after I applied. I think I applied for my visa on a Monday, and I applied on a Wednesday, and I got an approval email on a Friday. It was very fast. 3 days for me to get my visa after I applied. So there's some processes that I have to put in place before you can apply. Those took like 3 weeks. So overall, I think the whole processing took just about a month for me to get my visa and move here.
Amazing. I think that's probably one of the most common and most important questions for everyone. My advice also on this end would be to be patient. Sometimes processes are not, predictable. Things change. Things take longer than expected. Companies sometimes have different processes. Somebody might be on holiday, or their team might be super busy with a launch or something. So don't worry if feedback takes long, or even in your visa process, a lot of things can go wrong or can take time. But don't worry, we're here. We're going to support you from beginning to end, and hopefully the feedback we're getting from you guys, and especially from people like Maryam who've already been through the process, we're hoping to improve this. And actually, that's the final question that I want to get to. And Muhammad Talal has asked that question from you, Maryam, which is, if you were to give GSH any feedback about improving themselves to make their overall experience better, what would that be? So basically, he wants to know, how would you make our process better? And I know there's a lot that we can improve, but maybe stick to a few that come straight to your mind.
So I think when I did my process when I started with global skills has changed compared to now, because I think I started kind of early, so not a lot of things were in place then, because after I did mine and I got an offer, and Rukoya, that's my friend, was going through ours. She mentioned some things and I was like, I didn't do that. That didn't happen to me. So so most of the things I was going to like comment about are already being put in place, and so I don't really know what the new flow is like, but I'm recommending a ton of people. I think I've recommended over 10 people now. And so they've been telling me, I think the only thing they told me, or the only feedback I've gotten from them, because I try to make sure that I get their feedback from their experiences to know what it is they're going through, is that when they get the first email, they're asked to fill a form about their experiences or something. And I know that a friend of mine said she filled the form and she got feedback that she wasn't qualified or she doesn't have enough years of experience. But like 2 days later, she got the link to take an assessment. And so she was wondering why she got a link to continue, even though she had been told that she wasn't qualified. And when she told me she wasn't qualified, she sounded really down. And I was wondering why that was, because it wasn't in place before. So I think that's something we really want to check. If there's going to be like a minimum year of experience criteria, I think it's something we should let everyone else know before they get their hopes up into applying and trying to go through the global skills process. So I think it would be really good if there's going to be a list of things that you have to have, a list of eligible to apply to global skills, then I feel it's something that should displayed and really advertised so people know that before they decide if they should apply or not.
That's a very, very good piece of feedback. And actually, that's one of the things that we've been working on is updating our intake form to make sure that the criteria is clear. So for example, right at the beginning, if you choose based on what you choose, we're trying to give you as much feedback early on as possible. And the thing is, criteria changes for roles, right? So our criteria for accepting or rejecting someone in the pool is based on what we see is realistic and what we can actually deliver at this moment based on our hiring partners and what's going on. But we always ask everyone, hey, would you be interested in us reaching out to you again if this changes? And we have every single person who signed up. We have your email. We're constantly looking for opportunities for you. And as soon as we can negotiate that, I mean, Yusuf and kind of the team in Toronto are really, really pushing there, and we've gotten a lot of new hiring partners and a lot of great opportunities are opening up. But we're a small team and we're trying to kind of focus on what we can do right now and kind of take action. But that's amazing, and we really need to work on that, and we've taken action. So I'm happy that we've seen that problem and are addressing it. We are over time. Just last, and first of all, I really want to thank you, Maryam, for most of all, for joining us, sharing your experience. I want to thank all the attendees and everyone else who's been watching this live on Facebook. Thank you for taking the time and joining us. I hope to see you again on more webinars. Before we go, I want Adeline, who's our community manager, to tell you a little bit about the other events we have, and then we'll say goodbye. So Adeline.
Yeah. Well, I got to jump off, buddy, but thank you so much for everything. Adeline, sorry to cut you off there. Maryam, thank you so much too. I apologize, I got to run.
Okay. Ciao.
Bye,
Thank you. Thank you.
So tomorrow for the active candidates, we have our weekly webinar prep. And there, as some of you might know, we are trying our best to give you feedback on your responses, which should be, let's say, responded by using the STAR method. It will also be hosted by Mo. You should have received it on your email because last night I have sent you the agenda for this week. And on Thursday, if you are interested in knowing things about immigration to Canada, if you have questions, you can register. I have also sent you an email, and I think we will be streaming it on Facebook too, because it's a public event. So we are really waiting for you, especially on Thursday, because I think that you will be way much more interested in knowing about immigration, and after that to upgrade your interview skills.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Maryam, anything else you'd like to share with anyone? Final words?
Yeah, so, well, see you guys soon in Canada, maybe. But if you have any questions that we were unable to get to today, I just sent my email address. Feel free to connect with me. And when you do get here, I'm going to be sharing my number with you so we can all have lunch, because I'm a big foodie. But yeah, so aside from that, good luck with your interviews. I know you guys are really awesome, and you're probably going to get a job very soon and move here. And I think I noticed one more question on the Q&A session. That's how I decided on my salary and how I approached the number. So to make that my final question, what I did was I did my research on Canadian software developers and how much they were being paid, just a small market research to have an idea of how much I should be expecting, as well as tax, because here you have to pay tax compared, well, we do pay tax in Nigeria, but I knew there was going to be a difference. So I researched on the salary as well as taxes. And when I did get an offer, one amazing thing Global Skills does again is that if you're not happy with the number you got, they help you to negotiate your offer. If you want to ask for more, they'll help you ask for more, which I think is really awesome. So I don't think you should worry too much about the number, but one thing companies really do is from the first stage of the interview, they're going to let you know how much they're thinking of offering. So you know, you have an idea of what it is you're going into. If you think the offer is not enough, then you can always decide not to go along, not to continue with the interview. But most times I think the offer is like always really good. And if you're not okay with it, you can always ask for more.
Amazing. Thank you so much for answering that. Sorry, Ashwin, I totally missed that, and Maryam actually saw it on the Q&A feature here. Thank you, everybody, and once again, thank you very much, Maryam, for attending this webinar. I hope this isn't the last time we get to talk to everybody. Hopefully, for other amazing celebration we can have together, we'd like to host you again, and hopefully see you soon in Canada. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to give your feedbacks on our survey link, which you will get after this webinar. These will help us improve these sessions as much as possible. If you have any questions, you can just reach out to me, Adeline, or if you have anything specific you want to ask Maryam, you have her email. And I wish you guys a great day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and see you again soon. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.